All right. Hi there, Matilde. Thanks a lot for waiting. I was having a lot of problems. I'm with a new computer now well, if you realize I was with a computer that was not working pretty well these last days, but now I'm with a new one, but I had a lot of trouble. All right. I don't know. I don't have Microsoft Word. I don't have PowerPoint now. So we're going to be working online here. But I just wanted to let you know that. How are you? Is everything okay?
It's okay, thank you, and no worries.
Great, thanks for waiting again. So we're going to look for a way. I mean, we have everything here. I have everything online. So we're going to be working on that way. I want to know if you were able to get the information from management, Matilde, or they didn't send anything yet?
They didn't. I wrote them, but I haven't heard back. So
Okay, so let's take advantage. Look, as we still have to, I don't know if you were able to work on the Pearson's assignments, the ones you have from the previous course. Are you working on them?
not yet. This hopefully this weekend. Yeah.
Okay, good. Again, no, I'm mentioning that because then you can then focus on that one, taking advantage that we don't have access to this content yet, because it's not our fault, right? So we have to, well, I'm going to mention them that again, so that we have access, because it's important to have that element to keep working. But anyway, all right, we don't have that one, then we have to keep going with our lessons. I want to know if you have any questions. We've been working with very simple lessons, just reviewing. Then we went to work with the essay again, right? The structure we're working. So I don't know if you have any comments or any questions before going to the next part, Matilde. Let me know, please.
No, I don't think so. It's okay.
Okay, great. That's great to know. So again, I'm going to be working then with these elements over here, so that we can continue with the next presentation. Now, everything should be here. Yes. Okay, good. Now we are with A10. Now we go to see first tenseless review, then tag questions. Now, once again, right, we're reviewing everything. So we are going to infinitives. Let's see if we remember everything so that we can work with this. So what can you tell me? In general, we know infinitives, but what do you remember about the general usage of them?
Well, yeah, we discussed it again yesterday, and well, it can be used as a subject or after certain verbs. Um, also as a purpose, and yeah, I would say that.
Yes, yes, right. We mentioned also this one that is part of what we have to take a look at. We know that we have three forms of the verbs and we can use them mainly in four ways. And you gave me sentences, right, with them when we were talking about gerunds and infinitives in general. So I believe that this is again clear. I'm just showing you what this presentation is about, is again reinforcing the element. This is the one we're going to be working with you, right? Trying to see some verbs that work with infinitives. This one is very easy, and this one as well. So again, our main thing here is not going to be on the presentation because we have this, done. We are only going to pay attention to the list of words that we have here. So I am going to open this so that we can work with some of them. Okay, but we're going to leave that there. This is one of the lessons that we're supposed to see, but it's done. So let's see what else do we have here. Then we have passive voice. I believe that we were able to work also this with you, but I don't know if we did it in detail. But anyway, it's also something that we don't need to cover, well, with a lot of time, because I believe that it's also clear. So what can you tell me about passive voice? I want to see also how it's working for you, Mati.
Okay, I think we haven't seen this topic before, but it's, yeah, when it's inverted. I mean, in when you're saying a sentence, yeah, the object is inverted. I'm trying to think of an example. You know, I regularly I would say I bake a cake, but if I inverted the cake was baked by me, so it's inverted.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's a kind of an inversion, and it has a purpose, right? Actually, it can have many purposes. We can see that at the end of the presentation. Perhaps that's the most interesting part. But what do you say? What's the logic behind this inversion? Why do we use the object as the subject of our ideas in passive voice?
Well, I, I mean, I'm not sure, but I could say that if you don't know who have done the action, probably.
Sorry. Yes, that's one of the reasons. If you don't know, right, who did it, of course, you have to just pay attention to the object that received the action and the action, right? Yes, that's one possibility. What else? Remember, as I said, there are many possibilities or many reasons behind using this structure. What other possibilities can you think of? One can be that we don't know the agent, right, who performed that action. What else comes to your mind?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly.
Good. We're going to then take a look at that. Okay, but first let's see again if the structure by itself is clear. Right? We have two, let's say it says voices in English, right? The active and the passive voice. Both of them are stated and they are showed in this example, right? Let's read these two ideas, please, Matilde. The active and the passive voice.
Okay, Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. Hamlet was written by Shakespeare.
Great, right? So in this case, we know the agent, but in the first place, we are mentioning Shakespeare, right, as the subject of the idea. And in the second part, it's the agent that is mentioned at the end of the idea. And again, I'm just going to make you give me some ideas over here. Why would you say the first one, and why would you say the second one, Matilde? If you have to choose between those two ideas, which one do you think is a better idea for a certain context or for a certain situation? And when do you use the other one? What do you say?
I would say that, I mean, the passive voice sounds more formal than the first one, than the active voice. Yeah, because at the end it's the same, but yeah.
Yes, in certain contexts, it can be considered more formal, right? When we want to pay attention to the product of something rather than the author or who did it, right? And it's common when working with articles, with scientific papers, right? That we pay attention to the object rather than, again, the person who was able to create that or to write it. So yes, it can be formal, it can be used on scientific or academic papers. Now, active voice is very simple, right? We know this formula, the subject, verb, and object, but we also know that, of course, we have an inversion for passive voice, as you mentioned very well. The subject is going to be the previous object, the verb, and the object, right, becomes the agent using that preposition by. But as you mentioned, sometimes we don't know. That's why this by part is optional. Now, this is the formula. This is the main formula. Now let's have some ideas. I'm going to give you again some general sentences and try to give me the passive voice of that one. For example, if I say, okay, very simple first, in present, what about this? Okay, no, yes, our team yes, yes, reads a lot of books. Our team reads a lot of books. How do you change that to passive voice?
Our team reads a lot of books. A lot of books are read by our team.
Okay, yes, good. Now, past, and again, little by little, we're going to go to more complex structures. This one, my cousin, all right, my cousin wrote a new article. My cousin wrote a new article.
My cousin wrote a new article. A new article was written by my cousin.
Okay, there you go. Yes. The next one will be Brazil created, would be, let's say, yes, produced a new vaccine. Brazil produced a new vaccine.
A new vaccine was produced by Brazil.
Good. And now with this slight change, it will be Brazil has produced a new vaccine. How would it be in that case?
It's the same or not?
There has to be just a very, very subtle change.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Has produced.
The idea there is that the verb to be has to be in the exact same tense as the active voice, right? In the previous examples, you did that, and it's great. It was present, then you said are or is. It's present. Good. Then it was past, and you say was or were because it was simple past, right? But now it's present perfect. So we need to have the be verb in the present perfect form. How would it be?
Like a new vaccine have been produced.
Close, but instead of have, has, right? Has been produced.
Yeah, has been produced. Yeah.
Good, exactly. That's the only thing. It's just that we are always going to keep the same tense, right? If we use the present perfect, it has to be the present perfect as well. All right, good. These are other examples, and look, you have something interesting here. If you take a look at, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, to the fifth element, you are being transferred. This is not because this is action verb. No, this is just because this is passive voice in a continuous tense. All right. And again, let's try to make this change. If we say, for example, you are reading 2 books, how do you change that to passive voice?
2 books are being read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? You say by you, but as we don't need that agent. Yes, correct, right? So that sometimes can be confusing, but if we have that clear that that being is not continuous because it's action, it's continuous because it's passive voice showing that it was in continuous in the active voice, then it's good. All right, so you are being transferred next week. It's continuous, but about present continuous for future, that it's also possible. And you can also see something interesting. You have the future perfect. I haven't seen that yet, but it's interesting to have the future perfect, and that's number 3. Okay, so let's try to do the following. Let's try to change this to active voice if it's possible. All right, if we don't have the agent, you can give me an impersonal agent or an indefinite agent. So for example, in number 1, how will you change that to active voice?
Apple.
Sometimes it's going to sound weird because some of the
Yeah.
ideas we have are just good in passive voice. For example, this one. To change this in active, it sounds weird, but it's possible, but it's not going to be natural. But how would it be? Even though not being natural, how would the active voice be in the first case?
Okay. Apple employed me.
Yes, that's close. But as we have the verb to be in present, then the main idea has to be in
Yeah.
present, right? So again, it's weird, but it should be Apple employs me. Like
Okay.
if it
Yeah.
was like a fact, right? But again, it's weird.
Mm.
We don't use the active voice for that, but that's the active voice. Here, we don't have an agent, but imagine again that you have one agent, but how do you change this to active voice? And if you don't have an agent, you can make up something or you can make an impersonal agent, an indefinite agent.
Mm. Mm, 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 mm. She she will she will walk you at 6.
Close, we're close, but remember, it's good. But if you use a verb
Sorry,
like
she will wake you
yes,
up. Yeah, sorry. Yes,
exactly,
she
we're
will
missing
wake you
out.
up.
Exactly. I don't know why we don't have up over there, but we need up. Yes, she, or if you want to be very impersonal because we don't have information, you can say someone, right? Someone
Mm.
will wake you up at 6. Great. What about the next one? The next one is future perfect. We haven't seen that, but perhaps you can imagine how to use it or you've used it before. How would it be number 3? Well, the third case.
Mm. Um. Wait.
In this case, we imagine that it is the thing that will have been finished. And as we don't have again, right, the subject, we can work one more time with something impersonal.
Okay. Someone uh, will have finished
Mhm.
it by then.
Right, exactly. Again, we're not going to use that in active voice, but it's just an exercise to know that it is good. Yes, someone will have finished it, that it can be a report, anything, a task, right, that has to be done by then. Good. Just two more. The next one, we have been notified by head office.
Head office have notified us.
But head office is just one entity, so it's going to be has, right? Has notified us,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Has
Good.
notified. Okay.
Good. And the last one we have, actually, yes, the last one is that one. You're being transferred next week.
Okay. But in this case, what someone is transferring you
Mhm.
next week.
Next week. Again, it can be weird. You can say your company, right, is transferring you, your boss, someone in charge, or human resources, right, is transferring you to have the idea. But again, some of the ideas that we have are always good and only natural in passive voice. right? If we try to take them to active, it sounds weird. Okay, so good, but in grammatically speaking, all of them can be turned active because if they can be passive, it means that they always can be active, but it's not the other way around. Not all active sentences can be passive sentences, right? But all passive sentences can be active, right? Why? Because not all active sentences have objects to be passive sentences, right? And not all verbs letters have objects after them. All right, that's why again it can be one way around, but not the other way around. So I think that was good for practicing. This is an example that shows us how we need to pay attention to the tense of the sentence to have the verb to be in that exact tense. So let's just read to practice, Matilde, those four examples, please.
Okay. Peter buys a car. A car is bought by Peter. Peter bought a car. A car was bought by Peter. Peter has bought a car. A car has been bought by Peter. Peter will buy a car. A car will be bought by Peter.
All right, thank you very much. Again, right? Sorry. This is just to show us that again, it's possible to make changes in all tenses by paying attention to the tense of the active voice to transfer that to passive voice, right? And mainly the thing that changes the most is the verb to be, right? The verb, the main verb, bought is always going to be like that, and the rest of the idea as well. Only the verb to be changes as the tense changes. Now, here we have what I told you, Matilda, because actually we got to the last part. We can extend this, but this is the main idea. These are all the possible usages for passive voice. I believe we have, all right. Yes, some interesting ones. So let's start reading, please. Let's start by these two.
Okay, we want to emphasize the receiver of the action. President Kennedy was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald. Act: Lee Harvey Oswald killed President Kennedy. We don't know who did the action. The agent: my wallet has been stolen. Act: somebody has stolen my wallet.
Exactly, right? So the second one is what you mentioned, right? We don't know, or perhaps we don't say, right, a thief, or sometimes we say, right, a thief, right, has stolen me, but it's not a scam. We just say, right, my wallet has been stolen, at least in English. And the first one is because we want to pay attention to who received the action rather than the performer, right? We believe in the first case that President Kennedy is more important than the person who killed him, right? So again, according to what you want to pay attention to, what you want to emphasize, you use passive voice. Okay, those are the first two. Then we have this. Let's keep reading, please.
Okay. We think the agent is not important or interesting. Our house is being painted. Act: a company is painting our house. The agent is obvious. I am paid weekly. My company pays me weekly.
Okay, there you go. Right, so again, when it's not important, interesting, or it's obvious, right? If you get paid, if you get arrested sometimes, or I don't know, right? If you know that it's a profession or one person, the one that does that action, then it's not worth mentioning that person or that company. We have this, yes, we have two more, but let's keep reading, please. These are the next two.
Okay. We are making general statements or announcement. Passengers are reminded to fasten their seatbelts. Act: the captain reminds passengers to fasten their seatbelts. The agent is everyone. The emergency services can be called by dialing 999. Act: the public can call the emergency services by dialing 999.
Great, thank you. So again, the same logic, right? In many ways, we are saying that the agent is not as important, or we don't have to mention that, or it's too general to mention that agent. So we just use passive voice. And this is the last one. Let's finish by reading this, please.
Okay. We are writing formal or scientific text. Potassium was added and mixed in. The solution was heated to 80 Celsius and then allowed to cool. Act, the technician added potassium and mixed it in. The technician heated the solution to 80 Celsius and then allowed it to cool. We want to avoid responsibility for our own actions, typically found in government reports. Mistakes were made and unfortunately never rectified. Act, the Prime Minister made mistakes and unfortunately never rectified them.
Okay, thank you. Right, these last two are really interesting, at least formal writing, scientific text. And the second is also very common, right? We see that type of speech, avoiding responsibility, or also when we know that it's not worth saying, look, that person did that, because it's not worth saying that. So in a general way, they say that something happened in passive voice, and we don't mention, right, who did it. Because again, perhaps it was just a mistake, or perhaps again they are purposely hiding that information. So, right? Anyways, it's the logic of not using an agent. But that's it. Again, there's not a lot more that we can do with passive voice. We are going to practice actually with you in writing later on when we get to finish this second structure for the argumentative essay. We're going to see some recommendations for this type of essay, and we're going to talk about active and passive voice for that specific writing. All right, but in terms of what we need to see for Pearson, that's it. I don't know if you have questions about this before we can go to continue working in our essay. Let me know, please.
No, it's okay.
All right, good. It means then that we are ready to keep working. Yes, I opened this one again, but I rather work first on your essay to finish that as we didn't have the chance of doing it in the previous course. So let's go to our document, please, Matilde, and we're going to work on our second idea. We're going to see how we're doing. Okay, so this is what we got. We have the introduction, we have the first general idea, right? That is the first topic sentence developed in the first body paragraph. And now we need to think of a second topic sentence that we can develop. So again, actually here I'm going to give you the time so that we can work on that. Then I'm going to give some extra explanation for the conclusion. But first, now that you worked with this first body paragraph, you know what you have to do. So do you have any questions before giving you the time to work on the second body paragraph? Let me know, please.
I don't think so. It's okay.
Okay, good. Well, let's do it, please. Again, you finish, we give some feedback, then I give some extra explanation for the conclusion, and with that, we have the essay done. Let's do it, please. I'm going to use a timer actually. Let's once again have the 6-7 minutes. Try to think of the possibilities, and in that time, we check what you got. All right?
Okay.
Good. Let's do it, please. And just in case, I'm going to open the template for you so that you have access to it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take a look at what you got. We are with the 7 minutes, well, a little bit more. But again, let's see how's everything looking so that we can go to the conclusion. And again, this is just the first approach. We're going to take a look then at later presentations to improve some very little details about the, not just about the structure, but about what we should use. I mentioned that before, right? Until in terms of negative sentences, avoiding them and using negative words instead, the ideas about passive and active voice. So we're going to see those details, but first let's see how we're doing. So I'm there with you. Let's take a look by reading please at your new part.
Okay. Secondly, when someone is sleep deprived, they are more likely to make mistakes and have accidents on the job. According to a study conducted by the Sleep Foundation, sleep deprived employees are 70% more likely to be involved in accidents. In other words, this means that sleep deprivation can have serious consequences in the workplace, which in the worst scenario can end up in accidents. Therefore, sleep deprivation shouldn't be taken lightly. Prioritizing reasonable hours of work is important for the company and their employees.
All right, great. I believe we're working this in a great way. You have all the main elements. In this case, you don't have the second step, which was optional, which is great. Again, let's remember that the second step is optional, right? So, great. If you don't have the exact words, we can say that well, actually, the numbers that you're mentioning are part of your paraphrasing, but you have like a main and general, right, paraphrasing idea that is explained later on in your own words. Right, so it's also great. So it's good. I think we're working great. I have no observations over here. I want to go then directly to the conclusion. So before going to that part and giving you some elements, let's try to remember. You already mentioned something when I asked you the general ideas for the essay, but what do you remember without taking a look at the template about the conclusion? What are the three elements or the elements in general that we need over there?
Hmm. Let me think. Well, to summarize the ideas that, the ideas that were given before. Um, what else? Yeah, I don't remember the three exactly.
Good. Yes, the one that you mentioned perhaps is the most important because it gives like a summary of what you did, right? But also the step number one is going to be very important because remember, it's going to be restating or reformulating our thesis statement, right? So first you restate the thesis statement, then you give a summary of the two body paragraphs. It means of the two topic sentences that you decided to talk about. And finally, remember, this is also perhaps not the most important part, but it's an interesting way to finish the argumentative essay is by giving a type of reflection, right? So saying why it was really important to talk about this or what is else to cover about this topic, right? Perhaps you were not able to mention all the important ideas related to this topic. So you can write mention that at the end by saying that there are other, right, let's say aspects that should be considered or taken into account that were not mentioned in this essay, but that can have to be worked by, well, future works, right? So again, you have like a lot of possibilities over there. It can be a reflection of what you did, on what you can do, or what other people can do, on what your topic can be related to other topics as well, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's try to take a look at that now. And it says, right, we say to conclude, to finish, in conclusion, restate or reinforce, or it can be also reformulate the thesis statement, one or two sentences. Moreover, plus, or you use any of these transitional words, summarize your topic sentences. This is what you mentioned in general. And to wrap up as a final point, you write a reflection or thought on your essay, right? And in parentheses, it says, what other essays can be written by following this one? What research could be done related to these results? What's next? And so on and so forth. Again, those are just possibilities, but you have a lot of them. So I don't know if you have questions or comments about that. Before now, you can work on this to finish today. Let me know, please.
No, I don't have questions.
All right, so let's do it, please. We're going to have for this one, well, actually, we're going to be until 20 more or less, 10:20. So let's have 5 to 6 minutes. If you finish before, let me know. Perhaps this is shorter than the body paragraphs, but let's have 5 minutes. If you finish before, you tell me. If not, again, in 5 minutes, we see what you've done.
Okay.
All right, good. right, so we have those 5 minutes. Let's see how you're doing in case you're finishing. Well, you can finish the last details so that we can check. So what are you missing, Matilda? Let me know, please.
Just a final conclusion, the wrap-up part.
Okay, yes, I see there. Okay, so let's work on that to see everything in general. All right, let's have a couple of minutes. All right, 2 more minutes. Finish that one, and we check with that as well.
Okay.
Okay, so you're finishing with that. Great. Let's replace that conclusion. All right, finish with that last detail, and you can read it.
Okay. To conclude, sleep deprivation is a serious issue that significantly influences our performance at work. Moreover, this issue has a repercussion in our mental health, our relationships, and well-being in general. As a final point, sleep deprivation should be a matter of concern of every single employer. If they want to have good results, they need well-rested employees.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe it was very well done. There's only one detail that let me ask you, perhaps you're including that in a certain way, but the only thing that I believe that is missing is just one word that can be mentioned perhaps with a synonym, because now that we have to work on first we're reformulating the thesis statement, right? The performance at work. That's great. Then you mentioned, right, as moreover, the issue has a repercussion on mental health. That's part of the first body paragraph. And then you mentioned, right, relationships and well-being. But well-being can be, right, related to many things. But what I'm saying is that the second body paragraph's topic sentence is related to mistakes and accidents.
Yeah.
So I believe that that's worth mentioning just in a very short way. All right, just over there, try to include that. Perhaps again, you can use some synonyms, but it's important to mention also that because you're saying in the second body paragraph that that's your main idea over there. Okay, so these mistakes and accidents, perhaps in a certain way, just they can be reformulated as part of your second step. Okay, just that one. After that, I believe that everything else is working good. Just those two details that you have over there, right? Remember, as you're saying, sleep deprivation, then is a serious issue. So 1-1, then after significantly, you still have to conjugate that as singular, right? So it influences our performance. That's going to be the first one, just that one. And the last one is just related to the preposition. So you have, it's a matter of concern for someone in specific. And that's it. If yes, this is the final condition, right? If they want to have good results, they need well-rested employees. All right. So I believe that this is again the first approach that is very or was very well done, and it's great. We need to practice this now in different ways just to be finishing the class. In next practices for this one, then I'm going to be the one giving you one topic, and we're going to try to use, if we get to have, all right, more time. I believe we're going to finish the topics before in this course. So we're going to try to use more of a class to have one entire half of that, I mean 30 minutes, to try to write one entire paragraph just with information that I'm going to give you, all right? To see how you do it again, and just with the sources that you're going to have there. Okay, you're going to share your screen and you're going to show me more or less how you're going to be organizing your ideas. And again, the idea, it's going to be me observing and seeing how you're going to be working to give you some suggestions, and you showing, of course, the final product at the end. But that's it. I don't know if you have any final questions to finish today. Let me know, please, Mati.
I don't think so. It was clear.
Okay. All right. Great. Let's then finish. We have the survey or the poll over there. Again, I'm going to write once again to management. Please try to do that yourself so that we are sure that for Monday we have that product and we can start working on the assignments for this new course.
Okay.
All right. So have a good night. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.
See you on Monday. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you.